So today we're going to talk about building healthy relationships. So vital if there's going to be a successful recovery from addiction. We find that healthy relationships really helps to solidify the success of our recovery. So in this particular presentation, we're going to talk about not only building healthy relationships, but also nurturing strong connections because good relationships are meant to last. They're not just here for a day or two, but they're meant to last over a long period of time. And you'll find that when you have a good, healthy relationship that you can count on a long period of time, for a long period of time, you're going to find that you're going to be more uh, solidified in who you are, and also it's going to help you to have someone to talk with when you have to go through those difficult times. So when we talk about a healthy relationship, let's talk about first the definition of a healthy relationship. The definition of a healthy relationship is a connection between two or more people that is based on mutual respect, trust, and support. So a lot of times when we talk about healthy relationships, we're not just talking about between male and female, but relationships are encountered between husband and wife, father and daughter, father and son, grandfather, grandson. There's a lot of different types of healthy relationships. And there's some key elements that are necessary in a healthy relationship because a healthy relationship has to generate mutual respect, mutual trust, and also mutual support for the two or more people that are in this relationship. So there are some key elements. One of those key elements is communication. You really can't have a relationship unless you communicate, unless you talk between each other. And that's not just communication, someone saying something and then the other person hearing it. No, communication is also someone when they say that they want to be heard, they want to be heard with their full emotions, what are they feeling when they're saying something. Communication is about saying words, but it's also about communicating a feeling, it might be a look, it might be a sad face that also communicates the intent of what the words are supposed to mean. So communication is vital for beginning a good and healthy and continuing a good and healthy relationship. Also, empathy, going along with communication. Empathy, the other person, both persons actually, want to feel that the other person is empathetic. They can understand where they're coming from. They can understand how they may feel about a certain situation. The other key element in building a healthy relationship is compromise. Now, this is something two people, three or me even more, two to three or four, however many people are in the relationship, all the people can't have it their way all the time. That's just impossible. You are bound to, when you're in a relationship, you're bound to have differences. And those differences can generate a wedge between those who are in the relationship. So you're going to have to learn, if you're going to build a healthy relationship, how to compromise. That is, and we see another element, which is trust. Those two things pretty much go hand in hand because if you're going to compromise, you have to trust that the other person's not going to take advantage of you, that you can trust the other person generally has your best interest in mind. So it's okay to compromise because you know that you're going to get what you need out of the relationship anyway. And the sacrifice that you make is going to build and further that relationship. The other part of building a good relationship is respect. I want to respect, you want to respect, we all want to respect the person who we are in relationship with. If we don't respect the other person that we are in relationship with, then really, how much can we really receive from that? How much can we really engage with them if we really don't respect who they are? That's a real key element in two people or more coming together to build a relationship is mutual respect, respecting one another. as we said, trusting, and also the support. We have to know that when we are in a relationship with someone else, that we feel supported. We feel encouraged in that support. We feel like basically they have our back. And if something goes down, we're going to know that they're going to be there with us no matter what. They're not going to leave us when things get tough. They're not going to try to jump ship when it all starts coming down. But there's going to be some support. And if you're going through something, you know that you can turn to this particular person or persons and feel that you're going to be heard, you're going to be receive empathy, and you're basically going to feel the feeling of love from the other people that you're involved with. So it can be really easy in a relationship to lose yourself. And that is called a codependent relationship, basically, because when you're doing everything for the benefit of the other person and you don't feel that, you feel like you've given up everything of your own, then that's codependency. You also have to be respectful of your needs, your wants, your desires in a relationship. You can't lose all of your desires and your need to feel the love, compassion, and uh, the respect of the other person for the sake of the other person. And if you lose all that, you don't have anything of yourself. So there has to be the importance of self-reflection. The first thing is understand yourself. It might even be good sometime to sit down and to write it down. What are your values? What do you value the most? Sometimes in a bad relationship or a toxic relationship, you lose all that. You lose your value. You lose your needs. What do you need out of that relationship? It's all about the other person. That's not a good relationship. That's a bad relationship. And that's one that if you are in, either there has to be some mutual understanding or that relationship is not beneficial for you, especially if you're going to be recovering from addiction. Because in the real difficult times, you may be more inclined to repeat. You may be more inclined to relapse your behavior with your addiction because you're losing yourself. No, you have to have some values too, and the other person has to respect those values. So understand yourself. What are your values? What are your needs? What are you looking to get out of the relationship? Are you getting the support that you need? Are you getting the feelings back that are you feeling the warm and fuzzies when you're in a relationship with this person if it's intimate? And if it's not intimate, do you feel that just generally speaking, do you feel that that other person or persons are respecting who you are? So understand yourself, understand your boundaries, know the limits of who you are and how far you can go. Know your boundaries. Know if someone's going to offend you that uh, this is this is an offense and make it known to the other person. And also know yourself as far as your communication style. Everybody doesn't communicate the same. Some are more quiet, some are more bolsterous, some are more reserved, some are more outspoken about who they are. Some are happy-go-lucky, some are more uh, contemplative. So there's different personalities that we have. So know yourself, know who you are, and then uh, reflect on that. And as you are, if you are already in a relationship or you're about ready to go into a relationship, that's something you want to express with the other people or the other person so that they understand who you are. But you have to know that first. So communication is the foundation. And a lot of people aren't really that good at this. It's not so much that you can be sitting and listening and hearing a person speak to you, especially if it's a man and wife, husband and wife. Sometimes it happens with friends too. But while your friend or while your significant other is speaking, you're not really thinking, you're not even really paying attention to what they're saying. You're off in la la land in your head, and then the other person may say to you, "Did you hear what I said?" And you'll say yes because you heard, but no, you didn't hear. Um, we have to we have to listen when we are in a relationship. We have to listen actively. That means paying attention. That means being involved, intimately being involved when we're listening. Pay attention, ask questions, and show that you understand what the person is saying. So many times I know, and my relationship, that there's been times when my significant other was speaking to me, and she may say, do you know what I just said?" And I'll try to repeat it, and it's not even right because wasn't paying attention. My mind was off in playing my guitar or going and working out or some of my interests maybe. But her attention was just for that particular thing at that time. She wanted me to listen. She wanted me to know that I heard what she was saying. So I have to listen actively by paying attention. I have to ask questions. I have to um, show that I understand when I'm attempting to actively listen. Assertiveness, express your needs and feelings clearly and respectfully. Uh, Not disrespectfully, but express your needs. It's okay. Sometimes we feel like it's not okay to express what we need, but it is. That's part of building a healthy relationship, is expressing our needs and our feelings, and make sure that it's clear, and make sure that we also respect the other person. If it's spoken in a harsh way, or if it's at a time when emotions are heightened because of uh, maybe there might be a disagreement, might be arguing, it's probably not the time to anticipate that there's going to be some mutual respect, and probably not until the issue has been resolved and you can come back to a peaceful place where you can speak to one another when you're on good terms. Also, there is nonverbal communication. That's body language. Am I looking at the person? Am I making eye contact? Um, is my body language one of non-confrontive, but it's at ease, or am I? Does it look like I'm going to basically jump on the other person and do them some type of bodily harm or something? That's extreme, but is my body language one of welcoming? I'm welcoming what's being said to me, or is my body language stiff and rigid, and I could care nothing about what the other person is saying, and as soon as they're done, I'm ready to leave and get out of the area where the conversation is going on. And also as a tone of voice. How am I speaking? If I speak too aggressively on an issue, it may cause the other person to back to a corner. So how I speak is very important. And it depends on what I'm saying. Sometimes assertiveness is needed if a particular thing is being said, but other times assertiveness may not be needed. It might be more of a soft tone. That could be something that would be more easily entreated than so one or the other. So make sure that you're skillful at how you communicate, especially when it comes to your body language and making eye contact, and also the volume and the tone of your voice. So, if you've been in recovery for any length of time, you've heard about boundaries and setting boundaries. What are boundaries? Boundaries are limits and expectations in a relationship. And if we are in either a codependent relationship, or if we are in a relationship where we've been using and our relationship has become toxic, which a lot of times can happen when we are in active use, because mostly we're just caring about ourselves and not really that concerned about the other person. Then we forget to express and make known limits and expectations in the relationship that we're in, or relationships that we're in. So we need to set boundaries. We need to have, and we also need to let the other partner know that what our expectations are when we express these boundaries. So why are they important? Well, it protects our well-being, and it also lets others know that we respect their well-being as well. Um, so boundaries are important in order to generate a healthy relationship. And when those boundaries are respected between both partners, then we know that if we come up on that boundary and if we offend that boundary, and we've already been communicated with what that boundary is, then we know that if we cross that boundary, it's our time to say, I'm sorry. I know what you expect, and I'm sorry that I went overboard or I did something to offend that boundary. But if the boundary is never really expressed and the other partner doesn't really know what your intentions are, or what your boundaries are, and when they're offended, it can be the time when there's the greatest conflict. How to set boundaries? And the previous slide, we were talking about communication being key. How to set boundaries: communicate them clearly and assertively. Let the other partner know when you're coming into a relationship, it's the best time to work out what your understanding is of what your boundaries are, and what your understanding is of the other person's boundaries. A lot of times these days, it's about the what a person sounds like, looks like, how they walk, everything else. But two people hardly ever um, sit down and really just talk about boundaries. And that's why there's so many unhealthy relationships today. It's because some of these things just aren't addressed right up front. Um, so, so all of us may be familiar with the word empathy. We've heard it before. But what does it really mean to be empathetic? Well, what it really means to be empathetic is to demonstrate and understand the other person, understand their emotions, understand their experiences, be empathetic about where they come from, understanding about what they have experienced, and share in with it, share in the emotion with them. Practicing empathy means to understand the other person's perspectives. Try to see things from their point of view. Do some active listening when they're speaking. Pay attention to their feelings and their emotions. You may say some words like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, or boy, I'm really sorry that that happened. Words of empathy go a long way when someone is um, sharing with you and communicating with you how they feel. And validate their experiences. It may not be something that would have affected you a particular way. You may not be able to uh, you might not have reacted to a particular situation the same way that they reacted, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were right or wrong in how they reacted, um, because that's really not what they're looking for. They may have been wrong or right in the way they responded, but that's not really what they're looking for. What they're looking for is empathy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Can you be empathetic to how I feel at this moment? Maybe this person, some other person did them wrong, and you may be able to say, well, yeah, I mean, if I did that, then I might have expected the same thing too. However, that's not what you want to necessarily say to the person at that time. It's more like, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I can really, I feel you on that, man. And, uh, I'm sorry that happened to you, or great. Sometimes it doesn't have to always be a negative thing. It can be a positive thing. That's great. You got reconnected with that person. That's great. That's showing empathy too. So It doesn't always have to be a negative when you're showing empathy. So here's one that is very tricky for us. Resolving conflict constructively. Resolving conflict constructively. It's easier said than done, especially when you're in a heated discussion and the conflict between two or more people is escalating. To try to resolve it constructively takes willpower, it takes stepping back, it takes in your mind stopping yourself from giving over to your emotions and beginning to think out what you may want to say in the time of conflict. So, here are a few things that you want to do in a time to resolve conflict constructively. Number one, active listening is important. Hear each other out. Give each other, a lot of times when there is argument, two people both want to talk at the same time or they want to yell at each other at the same time. And um, we have to take a step back and give each other the floor to let them vent out, say what they need to say, let them have their time before there's a response. It's the hardest thing to do sometimes when there's conflict and the emotions are wrapped up into the conflict. One person has to be the, I guess, the conversation manager and say, okay, I'm going to step back. Now, if both do it ideally, but at least one person has to do it, step back and just take the time to listen and not respond. It takes willpower, it takes self-control, but resolving a conflict will come about a lot sooner if people are able to do that as opposed to giving over the emotions. I statements: express your feelings without blaming, without accusing, without trying to destroy. A lot of times, when we're trying to resolve conflict, we're really not trying to resolve conflict. We just want it to go our way. So we want to hammer it into the other person. And that's really not trying to come to a mutual understanding. That's, I just want it my way. Resolving conflict is not going to happen if you're looking at it just to always go your way. If you're in, especially if you're in a long-term relationship, it's going to be difficult. So resolving conflict constructively uh, means you can express your feelings, but express your feelings without blaming the other person or other persons. Be willing to compromise. Be willing to find solutions that work for everyone, not just for you, but for the other person too. And then if the conflict remains and it's a nut that just can't be cracked by the people involved, then the best thing to do is to seek either a counselor, seek someone that may be that both parties are familiar with and that they respect. It can be a counselor, therapist. It might just be an older adult that can come in between and help the conflict be resolved. So we talked a little bit about respect before. Let's go back to respecting each other. Respecting each other means valuing the other's opinion, even if you disagree. It's not so much whether you agree with them. You may be able to disagree, but again, they want to know that you heard them, and they also want to know that you value their position, even though you may disagree. People are not always going to agree on everything. That's fantasy, that's fallacy. Not everybody's going to agree on everything all the time. There's That's just not the real world. So we are going to have disagreements, but within our disagreements, we also need to know that we have to show respect for one another, and that's going to help each person be able to get out their feelings and their viewpoint easier, and the resolution to whatever is being talked about, especially if it's in a disagreement, is going to come a lot quicker. Treat each other with kindness. There's no need to battle. Sometimes our words become knives and swords and handguns just about because we want to destroy the other person with our words because again we want it our way. Um, but treat the other person with respect and with kindness when you are showing respect, and especially in disagreement. Also, honor their privacy, respect their boundaries and personal space. We want our boundaries respected. Everybody wants their boundaries respected. So respect other people's boundaries and respect their personal space, so that we don't become too offensive. If we are offending another person, then and we continue to go past their personal boundaries, then we're not showing respect. We're showing disrespect. A lot of times when we're in a relationship, we feel that trust is just something that should come automatic. Trust is something that if we know each other, if we like each other, then we can trust each other. If if we have been around people who have been betrayed a lot, that's a very difficult thing now, to just have trust because two people have come together. So building trust or trust needs to be built. Trust is something that is built, and a lot of times over a period of time. It just doesn't happen in a day or two, but it happens. And the longer people are in a relationship together, the longer that they learn that they can trust each other. But initially, trust is on shaky ground until it's proven, until it's built. So, how do you build trust? Make sure you're reliable. Follow through on your promises. Do whatever you can to follow through on your promises. Um, Try not to renege on your promises if at all possible. And if you do have to renege on your promises, definitely apologize and make every intention to make it right. Be honest, communicate openly and truthfully. Um, when we are in our active addiction, we know that we are a lot of times deceptive in what we do because we are one or two things. Either we're trying to get the substance without anybody knowing it, or we use and then we try to act normal, um, even though other people may know, but we try to act normal, try to hide it. But there's this hide and seek game that we play when we're using. So we tend to want to do everything behind the shadows. But when you're building trust, it takes communicating openly and truthfully so that there aren't things in the shadows that are hidden from those who you're in a relationship with. Now, it depends also on how deep the relationship is. Uh, not saying that you should be deceptive with relationships, but be to a certain level of honesty is good for the type of relationship that you're in. And the one time meeting up with someone that you don't know, you don't want to spill the beans on your whole life. It takes a little bit to build the trust, and knowing that they're going to receive what you have to say with uh, with goodness in the right way. So um, when you communicate openly and truthfully. Be honest with the other person as much as you feel that you can trust them with being honest with them. Also, you're when you're building trust, you have to be vulnerable. Share your feelings and thoughts. Building trust means that the other person knows that they can trust that you're going to be upfront and truthful with them, and that there's no games behind the scenes, that they're going to be tricked or lied to, because they're going to be wounded then, and you're going to be the party to uh, making someone else feel bad, and that's always not a good feeling. So one of the great times to build a good relationship is when the other person or persons need your support. You know that when you've needed someone else's support and they've come alongside and they've been a listening ear for you, you know what that's done for you. It's made you feel like you're valued. It makes you feel like you're wanted. It makes it feel like you're important. Um, and it's the same for other persons when they come to you. They want to know that you're going to support them. So be there for others. Offer a listening ear and a helping hand, knowing that it really plays an important part in the success in your life if you know that there's someone that you can count on. Um, Also, celebrate their successes. It's not all about you, but it's about them too. Celebrate their successes, acknowledge and appreciate their achievements just as much as you want your achievements to be appreciated and you want to be lifted up. You want to be put up on the shoulders of the crowd, so to speak, and shown around. And it makes you feel good, and you can make others feel good. So celebrate their successes and also offer encouragement. Support them during their challenging times. There's no greater thing that you can do, I don't think, in building a relationship than to be there for someone when they're hurting. And to come alongside them, put your arm around them, and say, I understand what you're feeling. I understand what you're going through. And I'm here for you. Those are comforting words. And everybody likes that comfort coming when they, especially when they've experienced a downturn in their life. So as we mentioned before, a lot of times um, in a relationship, we can lose ourselves. We can get so consumed. Maybe it's at times with someone else's issues, someone else's difficulties or problems in their life, and we run around and try to take care of everything for them. We basically try to run their lives that we forget about who we are, forget about ourselves. It's important to have self-care though. Um, Prioritize your well-being. You got to know when you got to take a break. This I can't do anymore. And the guilt can come in and say, well, you don't deserve your own thing because just because it's somebody else. So just keep just keep at it. Just keep helping them and give over yourself totally to their life. No, you got a life too. So prioritize your well-being. Take care of yourself physically and mentally. Take a break. When you need a break, take a break. You don't have to feel guilty. Sometimes people feel guilty about taking a break and relaxing, just doing nothing. There's some days, when I sometimes I have a hard time doing it, but there's been days when I've just not done nothing. Just gotten up in my robe and my slippers and just sat back and relaxed all day long. Um, Watched a few things on TV, read a book, slept, never left the house, just took it easy for the full day. I used to feel guilty about that. No longer, though, do I feel guilty because I understand the importance of self-care. I don't have anything to give anyone else if I don't take care of myself. I have much more to give, though, when I take care of myself. Um, so set boundaries. Don't overextend yourself. Don't get to the place where you're always caring about you lose yourself in someone else's life. That's going to be tragic for you. So set boundaries. Don't overextend yourself and engage in self-care activities. You may want to just relax for a day. That's fine. You can't relax your whole life. You got to work. Everybody has to work, but um, It's okay to relax. There's other ways of relaxing. Sometimes it's exercise, doing your favorite hobby, um, or meditation. Uh, there are different things that you can do in order to relax, and have self-care. Or it might just be, when I say you might be feel relaxed by going out and riding a bike, or going out and playing a game of b-ball, whatever it might be. But make sure you're doing your part to take care of yourself physically and also mentally as well. Make sure you're getting some downtime so that it's not always about something that's going on, or somebody else's life, or other people, or even sometimes work can be that way. And there are times on a weekend we don't work. The more the garden will wait. The car sometimes can wait on that oil change, whatever it might be. But we can take a break and just not do anything but work on our self-care. Self-care is important. Again, like I say, you won't have much to give if you haven't put something in the tank first. No two people are exactly the same. We all have differences. The important thing is that we're able to embrace those differences, and we're able to value those differences in others. A lot of times we can learn from the differences that we have with other people. So we'd be willing to learn from others. Someone else may have something that you need. More than likely they do. And you can learn how they do it. It makes you a better person. And if they're learning, it makes them a better person. So be open-minded and celebrate uniqueness. You have unique qualities that nobody else has. And other people have unique qualities that nobody else has. And when you see those differences, um, and they are unique differences, it's good to celebrate those things. It's good to acknowledge how good they are, and how they can affect your life and make you a better person. Life can be so busy. We have our communication devices, these cell phones, TV, radio. Um, so much is going on all the time. A lot of times we just don't take time to work on relationships. If two people are working, especially, and the weekend comes, there's projects, you can actually go by sometimes for a whole month and hardly talk to each other, um, because there's just so much always going on. Or sometimes, if it's a distant relationship, uh, people just get so busy with their day-to-day activities that they may not call that other person for a long period of time. And unfortunately, sometimes that person's no longer available, because we took too long. And I know a few tragic stories of people who waited too long to communicate, with someone that they knew that at one time was very close with them, or still close. They just haven't spoken with them for some time. And suddenly they're gone. And anything that can be said can't be said anymore. So make sure you're making regular check-ins with the person that you're in a relationship with, or persons that you're in a relationship with. Make time to connect and communicate regularly. Um, Spend some meaningful time together. And if it's a distant, a phone call is good. We all have cell phones. It's easy to make that communication. And sometimes you can do a FaceTime or something like that with family members. So spend meaningful time together, free from distractions. Nothing else is going on. Everybody knows that the intention is just to spend time communicating, sharing feelings, sharing emotions, sharing stories of what they've been through, and what they're going through. And also show appreciation. Express gratitude for the people in your life. Let other people know that you really care about them and you really value their relationship. This is a big forgiveness and letting go. Sometimes it's easier said than done, especially if we've been offended by the other person in a relationship. And what do we do when we are offended? Well, we have to let go. We have to trust and let go. In a trusting and healthy relationship, we can let go without the fear that we're going to be hurt again by the same thing. That's a healthy relationship. A toxic relationship or an unhealthy relationship, we may not trust that if we uh, let go and if we forgive, that we're going to get what we want out of a relationship because we're going to be hurt again. We're afraid we're going to be hurt again. So, um, building a healthy relationship is about also forgiveness and the ability to let go. Forgive yourself and others. Holding on to grudges can damage relationships. Holding on to grudges will destroy relationships. As soon as something is said, something that happened 10 years ago comes up, and it's hard to go back 10 years, and you can't go back 10 years and change the situation. What's the use of bringing it up anyway, except that it's ammunition for the argument that you're in to destroy the other person. So um, we have to let things go, let the offenses go, let the previous heated conversations go. When you said this, you did this, blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying. And if we can't let go of the previous bad times that we had in our relationships, then we can't move on. We have to move on. And forgiving also means trust. That we say, all right, well, I'm going to let go of the offense. Now we can move on because I know that that's not going to happen again. And two people or three people or whoever is involved in a relationship, it might be a family, or it might be two families together, whatever it might be. But those grudges have to be ironed out and let go so that you can move on in the relationship. Learn from mistakes. Use past experiences to grow and improve, not to hold each other under the thumb, so to speak. And let go of the past. Focus on the present and the future. It's one thing about the past that you can't do, and that is that you can't change the past. It's impossible to change something that's already happened in the past. You can change the present and the future, but the past is gone. It will always be gone, and you can't go back and get it. Of course, unless you're in Back to the Future, maybe things that's unrealistic. No, really, the we can't go back in the past and uh, change anything. We can only change the present and the future. So we have to let the past go. So navigating challenges. Conflict is normal. It's okay to disagree. Not everybody's going to be able to agree on everything. So when you run into those snags, when you can't get over something, you can always look to friends or family or professionals to get unstuck. But make sure that you're working on getting unstuck. Don't let conflict fester. Don't let disagreements fester and build into something that um, over a period of time can grow into a cancer in a relationship and can destroy a relationship. So try to handle conflict as soon as possible. Remember the bigger picture. Focus on the long-term goals of the relationship. Sometimes it may become necessary to end a relationship. If that is the case, do it respectfully. Do it so that you communicate your decision clearly and compassionately. You're not going to be able to maintain all relationships. Sometimes relationships will end. And if they do, it's good to end them on a good note because you don't really know when you may come back and you may need that relationship again. So make sure that you end them well. Be honest but kind. Explain your reasons for ending the relationship. And practice self-care again. Focus on healing and moving forward. There may be times when you have to grieve a relationship, and that's okay to grieve, but remember to grieve healthily, to grieve for a time, and then to let it go and move on. Move on to a better and new relationship. So what are the benefits of a healthy relationship? It is it is such a good thing to be in a good relationship. Because when you are, you have people close to you that you can count on. You have the support that you need. Um, no one can be an island and still at the same time, be happy as an island. We are built to need each other, and it's good to be in a good, healthy relationship. You will have improved mental health, reduced stress, increased happiness in a healthy relationship, stronger immune system, social connection boosts physical health. You will feel healthy. You won't feel as drained when you're in a healthy relationship. You'll feel that support and also increased life satisfaction. Fulfilling relationships contribute to your overall well-being. And the best relationships I know that I have when I am at my best, that is when I know that I'm getting support from all my relationships, and it's good support, and they help me to feel good about myself. And good relationships will help each other feel good about who they are. We can't forget that healthy relationships will take work. It's going to take effort. It takes time. It's not easy. It is difficult, especially the marriage relationship. Two people coming together from different backgrounds and suddenly are going to settle up on how they're going to live life and how they're going to mutually respect and support one another is difficult. But I can say that after many years of marriage, it is very beneficial to be in a relationship where you feel the love, the respect, the honor, and the support from another person. So building healthy relationships takes effort, though. Invest the time and energy. Nurturing a relationship requires ongoing effort, ongoing building. Building a house just doesn't happen in one day. You have to lay the foundation. You got to put the rooms in. You got to set up the walls. You got to put in electricity. A bunch goes in, and it's all not easy work. But once that house is built, it stays for a long time, and it's enjoyable for the people who dwell in it. Be patient and understanding in relationships. Take time to grow and evolve and to go through things. Don't give up when you run into snags. Keep going. Celebrate successes. Acknowledge and appreciate the positive aspects of relationships. There's things that you like doing with the other people that you're in a relationship with. Do those things. Try not to isolate, but to get out and to engage in those relationships and do it as often as you can. So, in conclusion, healthy relationships are essential for a fulfilling life. A healthy life will have healthy relationships in it. Invest in your relationships and you will reap the rewards. And I have done that, and I have very good relationships, and I value those. Um, but it took time, and it took effort, and it took sometimes almost wanting to give up before I was able to reap the benefits of those relationships. And remember, communicate, have empathy, and respecting the other people or other person in your relationship is crucial. These are key: communication, empathy, and respect.